All right, we are now streaming to YouTube. Steve Longo is saying hello, everybody. Welcome to the DHHSC Board Meeting, the first one for 2022. We have all board members in attendance, all 4 of us. Additionally, we have CDIs, both Rosemary and Tracy, who will be going back and forth. And we also have 2 hearing interpreters that will be voicing this in the background. You will not see them, but they are working behind the scenes. We do, again, have 4 board members here. I will allow folks an opportunity to introduce themselves. To start that off, my name is Steve Longo. I am currently board president. I will turn it over to Nicole. Nicole is saying, hello, I'm Nicole Hurt, and I am vice president and interim secretary for now. So nice to see you all here. Steve Longo saying we'll go to Jamie. Jamie saying, my name is Jamie Clay. I'm a board member in a role of support. All right, Jessica, over to you.
Hello, my name is Jessica. I have 3 children who wear hearing aids, and the Deaf and Hard of Hearing Service Center has helped me. I can't even explain it, beyond words, beyond signs. And now I work in Fresno, and my kids are advocating for sign language and ASL here in Visalia. And I'm a board member too, of course, and I'm thankful to be here.
Steve Longo saying, thank you so much, Jessica. All right, we will start with our agenda, cover what will be going on tonight, and we want to keep this board meeting under 2 hours, and that is our goal. We have some reports we want to make sure that we cover. There's a lot of information to stay abreast with in terms of DHHSC. So give me just a moment and I will show the agenda on a shared screen as soon as the host gives me permissions to do so. I tried, Alex, but it wouldn't let me do it. Give us just a moment. All right, thank you, Alex. I've got the co-host powers. Give me just a moment to share my screen. All right, can everyone see it? Waiting for the folks on Zoom to give me a heads up. I can make it larger if need be. All right, is that better? Nicole, let us know if you can see it or if we need to make adjustments. All right, we will call the meeting to order at 7:07 p.m. And there has been a request to have the agenda removed so that we have better visibility. Again, we will call the meeting to order. We want to note that we started the meeting at 7:01 p.m. And our interim secretary made note of that. Thank you, Nicole. Steve Longo saying, I'm not sure why my appearance is so red. The lighting is just not cooperating with me. Not sure why. All right. We all saw the agenda. So that is our plan for this evening. And we will just follow it in order, starting with approving the agenda items. Board members, do we approve the agenda as it appears? Nicole, I see you have a question. Nicole saying, yes, I know we just discussed the possibility of having new board members, and I just realized that was not put on the agenda. And I'm just wondering if that needs to appear here on the agenda. Steve Longo saying, I will bring that up a little bit later. It doesn't always have to be on the agenda. It can be added later, so I'll make sure that that is brought up later. Great question, Nicole. Thank you. Any others? Questions, comments, concerns about the agenda? Seeing none, we move forward. Want to approve the December board minutes. So the board members have had an opportunity to view the minutes from December. Is this correct?
Head nodding from Jamie.
We are all good with the minutes. Okay.
Head nodding with Jessica and with Nicole.
All right. Anyone want to make a motion to accept the December board minutes as read? Nicole is asking, is this for board minutes?
Yes, this is Nicole.
Go for it.
And I sent out all of the December minutes via email. I want to make sure that you have all reviewed those so that I can make that motion for approval.
Jamie saying, I move to approve the December board minutes as read. Steve Longo's asking, no opposition. We will approve the board minutes as read.
Thank you.
Third item on the agenda will be the president's report. And I'm not sure how we want to do this. If we want folks to have the opportunity to read the report first or have it signed. And seeing Nicole is requesting that it be signed, we will do that. Okay. I hope you all can read it. As we start 2022, I pray that the pandemic will come to its long needed end. DHHSC has seen some changes in December. I was informed by Michelle that it has not been easy to find a replacement for Paul Barnett and the position he vacated. There's just nobody that can quite fill his shoes, and that the search continues in hopes of finding somebody who can indeed fill that position. So we do pray that that happens very soon. Thank you to the board for voting me to serve as DHHSC president, and I plan to continue the work and keep the board alive and work on things such as bylaws, parliamentary procedures, recruiting, etc. I would really like this to be a steadfast place and the board to be in good standing by really working hard to recruit and seeing how we can set a strong foundation. We really see that recruiting will be a way to do that. There are 4 potential board members Michelle talked about, so we do hope to grow the board this year. We look forward to that. We're also in the 3rd phase of the bylaws revision. So we had gone through the 2nd cleanup efforts. And then there was another nonprofit organization that let us know that there is a new Roberts Rule of Order that sets a standard on how bylaws are to be written and how board meetings are to be conducted. And so I think we really need to spend more time to ensure we are following the new Roberts Rules of Order, both in bylaws and in our function as a board. I want to make sure that we are following the current rules as they are set for how we conduct our meetings. And again, it's all an effort to protect the board and DHHSC. So we will vote on the bylaws under new business a little bit later. Additionally, the board policies and procedures is getting better and better. We needed it because we don't want it to be such that we have to constantly change and update the bylaws. So we're adjusting the policies and procedures in such a way that the board can move forward on things and the voting process could be much more simplified. So one example is that the board meetings are conducted on Zoom. We've also included part of the Helen Keller guidelines for conducting meetings. And so until we're no longer using Zoom, we will continue to do so. And we will update the deadlines. But we just wanted to give an update on the board policies and procedures. And again, it just helps guide us on how we conduct our meetings to ensure we're following proper procedures. And it's important to have that and that we're all mindful of how we should be serving and what the standing rules are. We just want to keep an eye on that so that we may follow them appropriately. Applications for new board members needs to be changed. We now have a form that folks can fill in. So we've been working on that because the application was a bit outdated and we needed to bring it up to speed and in line with where we currently are. We haven't quite started the board recruitment process. We've been focusing mostly on the bylaws and the policies and procedures. Once those are nice and strong and in place, we will be recruiting for a more robust board. We just want to make sure that we are functioning appropriately. And good news, the board email is fixed. Yay. Now we have BOARD at DHHSC. So board at DHHSC is now live and working. The December meeting, there were some concerns from the community that they were not receiving emails. about the board. We did some investigation. We were looking at board@dhhc.org and then using that email, it then avails a place for folks to express interest in joining the board or share concerns. So I just wanted to share with everyone here that email address is up and running. Executive director will also be a part of that process.
One moment. Needing to clarify.
So the executive director was involved in that process. Since the board is part of DHHSC, it felt only right that the executive director also be part of that. And then would like to celebrate this month being Black History Month. We want to honor the successes and acknowledge the struggles with our African American allies and community members across the United States. We are very proud to have this recognition. Wawa Snipe and another performer for the first time in history will do a deaf hip hop rap at halftime. They will be on stage during the halftime show, and this is absolutely historic, nothing that has happened before. There will be millions of people who will see this performance, which means many deaf children will see sign language on TV. And it might encourage them to also learn sign language. And the key, as we know, is exposure, and that is a big help in that effort. So really want to celebrate that. And I think that wraps up my report. I hope you enjoyed that. And I will turn it over to Nicole for her reports, rather.
Okay.
And we'll hold just a moment for the interpreters.
All right. Hello, everyone. Very excited to hear the news about the Super Bowl. I think this is something that many of us have waited a long time for, and it's fabulous that it's finally going to happen. In terms of my vice president's report, I have prepared something. Give me just one moment. It is unbelievable how quickly time has gone since our last meeting. Oh my goodness, it is meeting time again. I do know that all of us have been very busy throughout the holidays. I think things are finally starting to settle down and into a routine. I have noticed during the winter months that COVID prevalence has risen again. So just trying to be wise and cautious and hoping that the rates of infection will decline. I also wanted to share with all of you, since the last meeting when we gathered and prepared for the coming year, for 2022, establishing our 4 meeting times. We are now at February 8th. We will have another meeting on May the 10th. The 3rd meeting will be September 13th, and our final meeting for the year will be December 13th. And all of our meetings are open to the public. You may come, observe, share comments, participate. They will all be hosted via Zoom. And you can find additional information by looking at the DHHSC website.
Go to About DHHSC.
The Board of Directors, and then you will find board meetings under that with the dates and times listed. And then you can find the Zoom link there in order to participate in the board meeting. Steve, our current president, has worked very hard, as he has just explained, in cleaning up our bylaws, our policies and procedures, the application for board members, and reviewing those revisions. I did that last night. I also discovered and want to share with each of you that there is a new Robert's Rules of Order that has been established. So as a result of that, we are putting the bylaws approval on hold tonight. Take time to review those again, make sure they are in alignment with the new Robert's Rules of Order. It is my hope that we can wrap this up and get them approved at our next meeting. That is our goal. We'll be working tirelessly towards that end. The community has also expressed that they would like to see the board members on the website. So I am hoping that we can cooperate, get board member pictures and get that information posted. Maybe following the meeting, I will send emails out to each of you. If you can support us in uploading the pictures as requested, I think that will make us more visible for our community. They can make connections with the DHHSC board when they see our faces. And I think that's important, to be visible to our community so that they can know who it is that is supporting them. I'm very proud of our board members. We have been faithful in our payment of our monthly dues. And each board member has been very responsible in accepting that responsibility and following through. And I want to say thank you to each of you for your commitment and for your donations to support the organization. That truly does help Michelle in applying for the various grants that she is applying for the organization, and shows that we have the support of the board to the community in order for her to apply for those grants. That is vitally important. So I very much appreciate your timely donations on a monthly basis. Thank you so much. Last, I wanted to share, Michelle has been very good in informing me of what is going on with DHHSC, and I'm very excited to hear that we have we are looking to get a new accountant for the organizations. I know that we cannot replace Paul, but I am very much hopeful that we will be able to select a great fit for the new position, and that will tremendously reduce the stress that Michelle has been dealing with over the last number of months and enable her to focus on what she needs to do as director. And wishing you all the very best. And that concludes my report for tonight. Thank you. And I'll turn it back to you, Steve. Excellent report, Nicole. This is Steve speaking. I believe, did you want to mention also the secretary's report, Nicole? Well, I guess it's back to me again, Nicole says. Okay, off with my vice president's hat and on with my secretarial hat. Here we go. So I will now share with you from the interim position as secretary, this report will be much briefer. My focus as secretary has been improving the organization, the access to the files. I did not realize that there is a tremendous amount of information to be stored, the minutes, the meetings, the files, the signatures, and it is challenging to constantly deal with that via email. So I have moved to Google Docs in order to create a better organizational system for our records, and that will be accessible to Michelle, I believe, in a much more readily accessible to Michelle. I am learning and somewhat new to Google Docs, so appreciate your patience with that. I have separated out files, minutes under one file, agenda under another file, board information such as how long term of office should be, and those kinds of details. And I want to, I have completed that task, excuse me. Also, the work in progress documents, I have abbreviated as WIP. For example, our bylaws are still a work in process. They are not finalized and approved at this point. So that is a separate file. Documents that we have, things that we are doing that are indeed a work in process. Once that is concluded, then I will email that information to the entire board so you will be able to see how and where that works. It's very important for Michelle to have access to those files, and she needs to have continual access to those files for reports and documentation that she needs to send to the state. So I believe the Google Docs system will make it much easier for her in terms of grant applications and reports that need to be made, as opposed to constantly getting a hold of the secretary of the board in order to obtain what it is she needs. And looking for anyone that can assist with skill sets in terms of use of Google Docs, and wanting to make sure things are done in a timely fashion. If you are interested in that, you can let us know, upload that information, anything that you are aware of. You may, if you would, there are places where you can apply. board@dhhsc.org. If you have any questions or interested in applying, we are more than happy to help and support you in that. And it would be great to see if there is someone that has that expertise in the area of Google Docs so that I can focus on my vice presidential duties. So if you are interested in secretary, please let us know. And back to Steve. And I will share with you the treasurer's report. Again, I am wearing two hats, as is Nicole. So I will take off the president's hat. I want to share with you on the screen briefly our financial report, and then I will share and sign our treasurer's report. Is that visible? Is that better? Can you see that better? I'll give you a moment to view that. Okay. Returning to our screen, as you look at this financial report, there was not much that transpired in December and January, but we do have changes. Our fiscal year runs from July 1st to June 30th. So as we go through the fiscal year, our expenditures, the goal of our expenditures is to completely exhaust the funds that are given to us by the DSS. If we do not fully utilize those funds, then we risk having reduced funds the following year. Historically, Paul has always ensured that we are at a zero balance at the end of the fiscal year, and it is definitely our goal to get there this year. And for our treasurer to help to ensure that that happens. I do want to mention some of these figures. It is important to note that COVID has changed some things. Interpreters are not going out into the community as much. Interpreters are working online, via Zoom, working from home. And I have noted that many of the interpreters, even for Sorensen Communications, is working at home. So that has impacted our practices. Otherwise, things have stayed pretty stable. There's not been a dramatic change, just some acceptable adjustments. Once COVID is at a different point, hopefully things will get a little more back to normal. Are there any questions as to the treasurer's report? I do see a comment from Alex. Give me just one moment. Okay. Alex said, looking good. Michelle, you had a comment? And Michelle is saying, I'm just wanting to clarify about the budget, because as you look at it, it may look bad and that we are behind, but I do want you to know that the reason for that is Gary, who is our contracted bookkeeper, has been focusing on the end of the fiscal year and just wrapped up the end of that fiscal year. So 2021, he has not even touched July 1st to date. So those invoices have not been taken care of. The CDSS invoices have not been taken care of. We just completed a budget modification for June of 2021. And so that was so that we could zero out the last fiscal year. My plan was to include in my report, but I will add now because it is related to the issue, that we just hired a bookkeeper today, Tuesday, a very exciting thing. And that bookkeeper's name is Cuckoo, last name Mint. And she has tremendous experience with Excel, QuickBooks, payroll, and invoices. So we are grateful that she and Gary will be working together as we transition the duties for the fiscal year of 2021-22. So the two of them are planning on moving forward and getting caught up with this fiscal year. But I do want to thank Gary for helping us survive after Paul's passing. We all were in shock and all needed to make sure that our bills were paid. And Gary allowed us to keep moving forward. He pretty much built the accounting department from ground up and uploaded all of the information into QuickBooks, set up automatic payments. Almost everything is set up for us automatically. Our payments, our invoices. So at this point, Gary now will be working with Cuckoo to get our invoices caught up and to move forward from this point. So as you look at the financial report, it doesn't look very good because the money has not come in. However, the largest portion of the funds have not. But CDSS and EDD are both aware of our situation. We have kept the lines of communication open. They are informed, and we will get caught up. I do want to let you know we have a special situation because our accountant passed away, but other deaf agencies are also behind for other reasons. So we are not the only ones that are behind, but we had a very valid reason, and they are very much aware of how tirelessly we are working to get caught up, and we will. And back to Steve, good to know. And now everyone knows.
Jamie's saying that's good.
Okay, so that wraps up my treasurer's report. Thank you so much, Michelle. I think I will turn it over to you, Michelle. You may have the floor.
Thank you, Steve. Before I begin my report, Nicole, I see your hand is raised.
If you
Yes.
wouldn't mind sending me that report so that I can include that information in the file.
Steve Longo saying, didn't I send you an email? Okay, if you don't find it, let me know and I will get that to you.
I will do that.
And this is back to Michelle. Before I begin my report, I did want to say thank you, Steve Longo, for mentioning Wawa Snipe and Sean Forbes for the Super Bowl. My hope with that is not just to make ASL more visible, but to know that there are many men watching football and many fathers of deaf and hard of hearing kids that are watching football, you know, that may not admit or may not think it's cool to learn sign language, will then see Wawa on there and know that it is indeed cool and it is a man who is using sign language. So my hope is that it will help change perspective for fathers of deaf children. So I'm very, very excited about that new opportunity for the deaf community. It's on a national stage. Millions of people will be seeing it. So very excited about that. So to note, I'm not the biggest football fan, but I will be watching halftime. I will say that is what I do. And then of course, you know, I do the food, but anyway, I always start with budget updates. So I will begin there. We did apply for a grant. Well, we applied for a grant for financial literacy, helping individuals understand budgeting and saving and using money wisely, and offering workshops for deaf and hard of hearing community members. The United Way of Merced did not give us full funding. However, because they said they were so impressed with our organization and really liked the program, they did give us some funds. So that was very nice. So very thankful to United Way Merced for giving us some funds towards that program. So we're thrilled to start offering those workshops this month. In fact, many of our deaf community members are often, after the first couple of weeks of the month, are finding it hard to make ends meet. So this will be a beneficial workshop for some. We are applying for a new grant through Dollar General, that franchise. We are applying for a grant. They have a grant related to literacy, so reading and writing theory, and that grant is due next week. As you all know, we applied for the United Way to Larry grant. Remember, you all helped with standardizing and all of the checking and the signatures. We're still waiting. So our fingers are crossed. We are very hopeful that we will get that. Lastly, Next month, we will be writing a new grant for the Fansler Foundation. And that, I'll spell that for the interpreter, Fansler, Fansler Foundation. Give us just a moment. So the Fansler Foundation is an annual grant, and we are hopeful that we can continue to receive their support for our family program, such as ROC. And yes, those two programs are supported through the Fansler Foundation. Their Youth Employment Services is the YES program. And so we are hoping that, again, we will receive that grant this year. And now we move on to staffing updates. Colleen Coletti, our administrative lead or administrative assistant, resigned January 25th. We have closed her position, but we do want to thank her for her service. She was really the one who helped fight with getting people to pay for interpreting contracts. For years, company will say, oh, you know, we are a medical provider, and they wanted us to buy expensive software. They wanted us to follow A, B, C, and D. And we had to explain, look, we are not a medical provider. And so Colleen did a tremendous amount of fighting to really provide the documentation they needed to finally get it resolved to where we got an, oh, we understand now. And so the payment is much more simple. So we really have Colleen to thank for that. And we wish her all the best in her new journey. We have a new client service specialist, and it's Alyssa Castillo. And this is her name sign, much like the sun. She started last week on February 1st, and we are thrilled to have her on the team. And as I mentioned, we hired a new bookkeeper as of today.
Point of clarification from the deaf interpreter. What location is the client service specialist working?
The CSS is here in Fresno. And as I said earlier, we hired the new bookkeeper as of today. Kiku started today. And we had a contract with Sierra HR Partners, and that's how we came across her. We'd advertised, we'd searched, we'd worked and worked and worked for over a year. And we tried the one individual, and that didn't work. So Sierra HR helped us. They did the screening, they did the interviewing, they did the feedback, and narrowed it down to 2 individuals. And so we were able to interview those 2, and we picked Kiku. She started today. She's very excited, very energetic, very sweet. So we are very optimistic that this will be the start of a great chapter. We are still looking for 1 more client service specialist. And this person would serve both Fresno and Visalia offices. But they would work and be housed out of the Fresno office and commute to Visalia and Tulare. And that would be on an as-needed basis. And that is because we are noticing if the client service specialist is here, there's more interaction with the other client service specialists where they can give each other support and feedback, and there's training more readily than if they are housed in one of the outreach offices. So we decided to keep that position here with the option to travel to the South Valley as needed. Lastly, related to events. The last time we met, we talked about
Love
love
literacy.
literacy. And it was supposed to be February 5th, which would have been this last Saturday. However, due to COVID, that has been set off to March 5th. We are still working on planning and recruiting speakers and setting up activities. And it's been fun and a lot of work. So I'm really hoping that that will elicit a lot of teachers and LEAs and families and audiologists and others to come and see the benefits of ASL for the deaf and hard of hearing kids in our area. December, we had the holiday car parade or drive-through. It was great. We had 46 children and 43 adults in attendance. And it was raining that day, but people came and it was great. We had a lot of fun. And of course, the start was always, as is always, a little bit stressful, but it was so nice to see everyone and all of their smiles and everyone wishing everyone well. And the Miss City of Fresno was here. So she came and did her hellos and greeted everybody. And we had the deaf Santa Claus. We also secured pizza from Yanez. They donated 10 large pizzas for the kids. So we were able to give that out. And of course, the kids were thrilled with the pizza. They prefer that, of course, over turkey any day. So go figure. Outreach offices also had holiday Zoom story time. They also had a deaf Chinese woman who lives in China joined in to share her experience. It was really cool. It was so awesome. And it was super early in the morning for her, whereas it was nighttime for us. And she was more than willing to take part and join and how she keeps her American Christmas tradition and talked a little bit about Chinese New Year. I learned a lot. It was a great time. I really enjoy learning about other cultures and holidays and traditions. And so getting to know a little bit more about that was great. Also got to know about the Hmong New Year, how that is similar or different from the Chinese New Year. All right. 3 more quick items. Valley Deaf Festival is a yes. We will have VDF this year. It'll be November 19th. It's a Saturday. It'll be in a larger building. It'll be in the Commerce Building this time. And it is quite large, very spacious, which is good, again, with all the COVID considerations to allow for spacing. The other building would have been far too tight and just don't feel it would be safe. Whereas in the Commerce Building, we can spread out more. The theme we will keep, and it is the Wizard of Oz. So that theme we had selected previously will continue. And it will be, there is no place like, not home, but no place like DHHSC. Now we've had 2 years of No Valley Deaf Festival. So no place like home, no place like DHHSC seems fitting. This summer, we do hope to have a summer camp with NTID, the National Technical Institute of the Deaf. We hope to partner with them again, and we're still waiting for the specific guidelines again as relate to COVID-19, but we are still moving ahead that we will be having the camp. There will be 3 hosted at the same time. 2 of them will be STEM, the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and the third one will be focused on vocational training. We tend to run the vocational training with NTID support, and they run the other two. So it'll be very nice, and they'll be running concurrently because that way deaf and hard of hearing children can have that time together and interact with each other, because we will have, between the 3 camps, running at the same time about 150 kids, which is really, really cool. Lastly, we just started the planning of the women's conference. That will be in June. We also are working on Martha's Vineyard, and we're trying to figure out if Martha's Vineyard will be virtual or in person. We're not 100% sure yet, as it's generally in March. It feels like it might be a little bit early to have it in person. And if we put it off a little bit, maybe we can have it in person, but outside. But for sure, the women's conference will be in June. So we'll keep you all posted. We are working feverishly to serve clients in the community, but also plan events. We are looking forward to getting back to normal. And then the last note to say is we are all working in the office. There is no more remote work. All are in the office. And that began December 1st, 2021. We are back in the office full time, but clients are able to come in if they have an appointment. It's easier for us as far as tracking and stats and meetings to ensure that we are able to keep running as we should. But just want you to know we are all here in the office, as you know, evidenced by my backdrop that you can kind of sort of see, but I'm here in the office.
Steve is saying, yes, I see that, Michelle.
And
I do have a question for you, Michelle.
Sure. Yes.
There was an event, Martha's Vineyard. Can you update us as to that event?
Yes. We just started talking about the planning, and we're not sure if it's going to be on Zoom or in person. We might be able to host it outside in the parking lot. That's an idea that was tossed around. But typically, Martha's Vineyard is held in March. We're thinking about putting that date off a little bit in hopes that the prevalence of COVID would be down. So maybe April or May would mean that we could do it in person. But of course, keeping in mind that the women's conference is in June. So we want to have the Martha's Vineyard event before that. And I will keep you posted.
And this is Steve. Just so you know, the college students are on break that second week of the month. So we want to avoid that week because it is a big draw for college students.
Unless you give them a lot of extra credit, and then that might entice them. If, you know, hey, you'll get 100 points if you come support this event. We'll have them lining up at the door.
Absolutely. Thanks, Michelle, for that report. And Nicole, I noted that your hand is up.
Yes. Questions and clarification. I'm just trying to think, what was it I was going to say? Hang on. Now, with clients coming into the agency, making an appointment, are we requiring a vaccine card, or are we requiring masking? And my other thoughts are just not staying in my head.
One moment, we need to make an switch with the deaf interpreter, please.
Michelle's saying right now, California is requiring that everyone wear masks. And that is in place until February 15th. So February 16th and on, people who are vaccinated don't have to wear a mask, but people who are not vaccinated are required to wear a mask. That is according to the state. That is what they have stipulated.
Calling on Jamie. Jamie is saying, I remember 2 months ago, there was a competition and there for the reading and the children reading the stories and sign. And I'm wondering who was awarded that.
Michelle's saying, I'm so sorry. I'm lost. Help me. Remind me what you're talking about.
Remember, you had said something during the December meeting as to see who had the best display or performance with the holiday drive-through?
Yes. Number of people who participated on Zoom versus how many vehicles we had. First, I would like to say there were more people in the holiday car parade. Zoom, because it's YouTube, you could watch it later, so it's kind of cheating. So, as the event was actually occurring, the holiday car parade had more in attendance than the people who were actually connected on Zoom. So we win.
And that makes sense, Jamie says.
But it was a lot of fun. It was fun to have a little competition for sure.
And Steve, giving the floor to Nicole.
Nicole's saying, now I remember, it was related to Valley Deaf Festival, VDF. So if I understand correctly, we will have a booth and we want to support DHHSC. Can you describe how people who are interested in being a vendor at VDF can do that? Like, do they get in touch with you? Secondly, regards to Martha's Vineyard, I'm wondering if there's been any thought to maybe taking it to a park like Woodward or something like that, if that might also be an option. I'd also like to say I absolutely loved the story time and having our attendee from China join. It was so fun to have that time connecting and networking and being exposed to all of that.
And back to Michelle, before I respond to those questions, the VDF booths was the first issue. The second question related to Martha's Vineyard and location. And then what was the third item?
It was about Woodward Park, if that might be an option. I'm sorry, I had my very, very long list for you.
That's okay. Michelle responding, in terms of Valley Deaf Festival, if people want a booth, that information is not yet on the website, but it will be uploaded to the website soon for events. If individuals are interested in getting a booth, there is information and paperwork that will be available online, and the fee can be paid online as well via PayPal. So they can click and pay. The booth fee typically is somewhere around $100, but because the prices have gone up, that price may also go up just a little bit. The price of the building rental has gone up, and the fabric for the booth, for the skirts on the tables, everything is going up, which means the tickets will likely go up as well to $10. For those who are 12 and up or 13 and up, the price will be $10 for the entrance ticket. So the booth fee will be approximately $100, and information will be posted at the DHHSC.org website, where they can find the paperwork that needs to be completed, pay the fee, and so forth. They can also come into the office and request information. We'd be happy to give that to them or email that information to them. In response to the second item, Martha's Vineyard, quite honestly, the idea of a park sounds lovely. I love the idea of being outside. Woodward Park is a beautiful area. The challenge would be is we have a lot of stuff. So that involves a great deal of work in terms of transport and getting things set up. And typically we set that up the day prior to the event. So we're ready to roll in the morning, first thing in the morning. So although we could certainly discuss the idea, we would probably need to downsize the stuff. But I'm more than willing to bring that up with the team. That this time of year is absolutely beautiful. We haven't had much rain. So it's probably safe to have it outside. So I will check that out and get back to you. Back to Nicole.
Yes. So Martha's Vineyard is really about communication and demonstrating the history and having an opportunity for folks to interact. It's more about that social time. And I mean, maybe it could be kind of like a picnic, like things used to be done back in those times. It's just another idea. I think it would be nice for people to have that time to be around one another again. I think everyone is kind of over being at home and being deaf people and using sign language and being able to see each other and being around each other is really enticing. So having it outside where we can do that might be kind of nice too.
And real quickly in response to that, if we did a lunch, that means that maybe the board would be responsible providing the lunch. Food for thought.
For VDF or?
For Martha's Vineyard. I will assign you as the board more responsibility. If you want us to host lunch, you all provide the lunch. You know, or a high tea, like the British tradition. Small sandwiches and tea. A dainty affair.
That would be fun.
That sounds wonderful to me.
And this is Steve Longo. One quick question, Michelle. Has there been any thought to using the parking lot? I think it might be an ideal place for an event.
Yes, and that is what we are thinking of. If we do host Martha's Vineyard during April or May, the weather at that time is nice, and some of our booths can be inside, but it's much easier to set it up outside in the parking lot than it would be to transport it all to the park, and to be able to keep it in the traditional format.
This is Steve Longo. Thank you, Michelle, for your report. I do see Nicole has her hand up.
This is Nicole. The concern I have with the parking lot is where will all the cars park for the people that are coming?
This is Michelle. Yes. We had an event here in front of the building. So what we can do is block off just that parking lot in the front. So that way people can have the event there, but the big parking lot between DHHSC and the bank behind the building would be totally accessible. We would just have the front blocked off, but everywhere else around the building would be available for parking. So there's still parking available.
This is Jamie. And if parking is full, there is a church not far that people can park across the street for those that are able to park and walk.
Back to Michelle. And if we do that, then I would ask, obviously, the church first for permission. I don't want to just assume that we can take over their parking lot just as a courtesy. I'm sure they will obviously approve it, but
just as a courtesy.
It's a great idea.
Back to Steve. I think it is 8 o'clock, and I think we've been moving through the agenda pretty well. I'm wondering, we don't have too much left, but I'm wondering if you want to take a short break or move through.
This is Nicole. I would like to ask for a break.
Agreed. Taking a 5-minute break so everybody can turn off your videos for 5 minutes till we return. So return time would be, it is now 8:07. Come back at 8:12, please, at around 8:12. Thank you.
Wait.
Need to let Alex know that the person that wants to comment from the community will need to share their comments at the appointed time on the agenda. Jessica should be back momentarily. And I think we're ready to move forward. And this is Steve continuing. Our next item on the agenda is the fundraising report, and we do not have a report for that category. The next item on the agenda is general comments, and this is the point in which we can take the comment from the community member. So Alex will share that with us. Alex, if you're ready for the general comment.
Yep, this is Alex. Hello, everyone. Again, my name is Alex, and there was a comment from one participant, 2 questions. First one being, will the next board meeting be on Zoom and therefore YouTube? Second question being, when the board will be having in-person board meetings? Those are the 2 questions. That's all so far.
And I can respond to that. This is Steve. In one answer, it will depend on what happens with COVID. It is an unknown. Once that matter has been resolved, then we will know. But at this point, we do not know where we stand with COVID and the pervasiveness of it. Once the incidents have declined and the state opens up more, then we will go back to meeting at DHHSC. So that answer really responds to both. It will be on Zoom until COVID subsides.
Alex is saying yes, thank you. Those are the 2 questions thus far. No other comments. Just the one reach out from the one person. So thank you for your time.
Yes, Nicole?
Yes, this is Nicole here. I see honestly a huge advantage to having the board meetings on Zoom. It does make it more accessible. More individuals have the opportunity to watch and see the information. It's easier for individuals to show up online. With some people, such as myself, who are deafblind and don't drive, this is ideal, considering, of course, that there is internet available. And so I know that Zoom is really accessible for pretty much everybody, but maybe it's something to consider in the future that we can do a hybrid approach. Something to think about, wherein people can show up in person at DHHSC for comments or whatever it might be, but we also have it available not just in person, but also online. We can stream it online. And that's something we can talk about later when we know more about the
And
opportunity.
Steve is responding to that. I do like the idea of a hybrid. If we indeed meet in person at DHHSC, depending on the setup, I believe we could set up camera and make that accessible online so that those that are not able to be there in person can access the meeting online. And I like that idea. All right. That concludes the general comments. The next item on the agenda would be old business. We have no items under old business. Then moving, oh, excuse me, Nicole again.
We're going to switch the interpreters. Hang on just a moment. All right, we are good to go.
Okay. Alex indicated that we have 25 people viewing tonight. And typically the average is 25 to 30. In person, it was about the same. So it looks like our numbers are similar. Moving to new business, the items that we had placed on new business, the bylaws approval will wait for a later date. The next item that we had was board policies and procedures approval that was reviewed as I sent that out in December after some cleanup work. Still needing to make we made a few modifications with that. If you are ready to make a motion, that's fine, but that is not a priority matter for us. We can certainly wait for the board policies and procedures, and that would allow me to do a little more work on the cleanup of that. The third item is Valley Deaf Festival. And we will need to make a vote on the Valley Deaf Festival. And the fourth item would be new board members where we need to vote tonight. And that's all we have under new business. So how do you want to proceed? Michelle?
Yes, this is Michelle here. I'm not on the board, but I would like to start with feeding us. Feed us at Valley Deaf Festival. Board members, you are responsible to feed us. So let's start there. Don't leave us hungry.
That's right, Steve says. We will not starve you. We will not starve you.
Thank you.
So who would like to make a motion with Valley Deaf Festival? We simply need a motion indicating that we will move forward with hosting the Valley Deaf Festival event this year. Is there someone who would like to make a motion?
Jessica, I'll make a motion.
This is Nicole. I move that we go ahead and move to do the food for the Valley Deaf Festival.
I guess I'll second that.
Jamie's saying yes, me too. So I guess two of us second it.
Can they hear me, the interpreter?
Yeah, an interpreter just got cut up. Jessica, you're good.
Okay.
Steve Longo saying, okay, we will keep an eye out for you, Jessica. Thanks for jumping in. Okay, Steve Longo here again. So we do have a motion on the floor, seconded officially by Jamie. Any other discussion about the motion? we can call to question, meaning we're going to vote on it. So let's do that if we're all in agreement. What did you say,
I'm
Nicole?
sorry, Nicole.
So I will restate your motion so that we can vote on it. That way folks know what the actual motion is that's on the floor. So Nicole's motion was to approve moving forward with Valley Deaf Festival. And I didn't see her, Pam.
And yes, Nicole is reiterating, yes, we need to vote yay or nay as to whether or not you are in favor of that motion.
So all in
All in
favor?
favor.
Awesome. It's a unanimous vote, so the motion carries. Nicole.
I am wondering if Jessica has anything you would like to share. We want to give you the opportunity to share if you would like to, Jessica.
Thank you so much. I want to get more involved with the Valley Deaf Festival. So let me know what I can do. I know I have my marketing skills and I need to use that more with you. So ask me. And I know I'm busy, but I started a new job. So I'm in Fresno 2 days a week. So if we ever do meet in person, Tuesday nights are great. I'm in Fresno. And hybrid is beautiful as well. But Nicole, if you ever need me, we can carpool. And yes, but I'm honored that I'm here. And if you guys need me for marketing or anything promotion, we need to get that, going. I feel like we talk about it, but we need to do it. So it'd be nice too if we can meet in person safely, just the board in person, and we can have some space between us, of course. So let me know.
Back to Steve. Great. Thank you, Jessica. Okay, so that motion has passed, has carried. The second item that needs a motion is approval to welcome Anna Bernick as a new board member. I would like to see a motion.
This is
To
Jamie.
Jamie.
I move to approve, what was the name? Anna, to join the board.
All right, do I have a second? By show of hand, a second? Now that's open to Jessica or Nicole. We need a second.
So I was going to ask, I have a question.
Yes.
So who is this person, Anna? Do we have like a bio about her or her application? Did you guys email it? I'm so sorry.
Yes. Steve is indicating back in December, we met.
Okay, yes.
We met with Anna and interviewed her, had a dialogue with her, and we just received her application that was sent to all the board members, explaining her background. Yeah. And basically it's standard on all of our applications.
Okay, I'm just making sure. I was like, hold on, making sure I got the right person. Yes. Okay, I'll second that. Yes.
Great. We have a second. Good. So we have Jamie's motion on the floor, seconded by Jessica, that we approve bringing Anna Bernick in as a DHHSC board member. Is there any discussion? Nicole?
This is Nicole speaking. I just want to make sure that we are being fair to everyone. I want Jessica to make sure she's had a chance to know who these potential members are before we do a vote. So I'm just curious.
Well, I read the email, I read the information, but I was just double checking this is the right person.
Yeah, Yeah, we met with Anna via Zoom. We visited with her. We were able to have a healthy discussion with her, ask multiple questions, which she responded to, which is why we asked for the submission of her application, so that each of you as board members could see her qualifications, her history, her experience. She is willing to take on any role, possibly as secretary, and she has the skills, the experience, and the expertise that I think would be very useful to our board, which is why we think she would be a great addition. Nicole?
This is Nicole speaking. I just want to make sure we check in with Jessica to see how she feels about having not met these individuals. I'm just curious how you feel about that, voting on somebody you haven't met.
Well, like I said,
Jessica?
I read the emails. I was just double checking that I'm voting for the right person. I like to double check a lot. So yeah, I read the emails and I trust you guys. I mean, I trust you with my kids, so.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. And I agree, it is important that everybody feel comfortable with the decision to move forward. So we have a motion on the floor. We will call for the question, which means we are moving forward with the vote. And typically, as president, I will restate the motion because that will be a part of the record so that people know what is on the floor. As president, I am a neutral individual. I cannot cast a vote. So all in favor of Jamie's motion to approve bringing in Anna Bernick as a new DHHSC board member, please so indicate by their hand. Aye. I see the hands and it looks unanimous. This motion has carried. All board members have approved bringing in Anna Bernick. And congratulations, I will let her know. I know that she is thrilled to be working with us and meeting all of you one day in person. Yes, Jamie.
Yes, I just want to make sure that we add her phone number to the group so that she can be in the text conversation.
Yes, if you saw her application, you can see her number on the application to add that to your contact list.
And this is Nicole. I think it would be great for Steve to do the announcement and the welcome and then add her number, if that's okay with everyone here, if that's agreeable.
Agreed. Definitely. And I am glad to get that done. VDF was done. Both motions brought and carried. 2 items that were on the new business agenda will be postponed to a later date. And I think we are done with that new business unless there is anything else that I've neglected that needs to be brought up.
Yes, this is Michelle here. I was just wanting to clarify, what is the food that we will provide at VDF? Because we need to know in advance, because we have paperwork to fill out with the Fresno Fairgrounds. We have to say what food and drink. So I'm not sure when that will be decided and when we will know.
And this is Steve. I think we will meet separate from this board meeting tonight to discuss the details of the food. In the past, we've done things such as pizza and other items. We will be looking for something that's easy to transport and get there. We want to avoid doing things that would take a lot of effort. We've done pizza in the past, sodas in the past.
Salad.
There's been salad. Yes, you're right, Michelle. I remember that. So we as a board will discuss further after this board meeting. Nicole?
Yes. Do we typically do a dessert too? I seem to remember there being a dessert at one point, and is the board responsible for that?
Michelle? This is Michelle. I know that oftentimes the board has sold snacks, cookies, fruit cups, things like that as a dessert, but please keep in mind that we do have one vendor that does snow cones. You know, the frozen ice, and they are extremely popular. People tend to flock to that particular vendor. So I would suggest focusing on food, the lunch, and I'm sure that vendor will draw many people for dessert, so to speak.
This is Steve Longo. Good point, Michelle. Thank you for that. He kind of steals our thunder in the dessert department, and we don't want to steal his. So, okay. Yes, back to you, Nicole.
Yes, this is Nicole. It is something we can discuss later via email or text when we have more time, but the one thing that we do need to think about is what people can eat and restrictions that people may have, such as gluten-free and other healthy options. I just think that needs to be considered.
This is Steve Longo. I think Michelle had a really good idea of having 2 or 3 items, pizza being one of them, salad being another. So those who may not be able to take part of the pizza can do the salad, or, you know, they at least had the option. So I think it's important that we do provide some kind of option for those attending. And again, we can go into more depth with this later. How soon do you need to know, Michelle?
This is Michelle. It would be nice to know within 2 to 3 months.
Okay.
Because I do need to fill out the paperwork.
Definitely, we'll have that back to you within 2 months, which means by April, you'll need to know. Okay.
Yes.
This is Jessica, excuse me.
Jamie saying, I have a question. There are some people who can't eat pizza, so they could do salad, but maybe we could also have something else, if not a salad. Just a thought. And then Steve. I do see Jessica. Yes, you would like to say something. I saw your hand.
Do we have a committee for the Belly Deaf Festival?
This is Steve Longo. We do. We will establish a committee very soon so that we can talk about that in detail. The board meeting is really not the place to really go into that level of detail, but yes, we will definitely have that so we can talk about all of those things, but it'll happen outside of the board meeting. But yes, Jessica, there will be more to talk about for sure. So looking at the agenda, asking the board if there are any announcements. Nicole?
I'm sorry, one more question about VDF. This is my first time as a board member and responsible for providing food. And I am just thinking about the fact, when we provide food, are we fundraising through this effort?
Hang on 1 second for the interpreters.
One moment. Let me make the switch on my screen. Okay, thank you. It's pinned.
This is Michelle. It's always a goal to raise funds with food. But I will also say it's a lot of work. There's planning and purchasing and bringing and then setting it up and selling it. And it's always a goal to make a little bit more than we spend. But typically we're right close to breaking even. We just don't want to be in the hole. We don't want to lose money on the event. But I would say a few $100s more than we spend would be a general goal. The trick really is to find the right food that would allow us to do that. One year the board did like potatoes where they did baked potatoes with the different toppings. And that was not as successful as others have been. The pizza and salad so far was better because folks had the option of one or the other. One year we did hamburgers, and we did that for the 50s theme and was a huge hit. People really liked the burgers and those went pretty quickly. But again, we want something that is easy because there are so few of you. Something that's easy to pick up, bring to the fairgrounds and sell. And then with considering different dietary needs, finding that balance when you're considering gluten-free and allergies and there are many things to consider. So we just want to make sure that we don't buy too much of something and we are left with it. So it is a challenge. So that's why I wanted to say something now. So there's lots of time to get through those discussions. And yes, the ultimate goal is to raise money, but we know that it's not a big one for us, maybe a little bit.
Back to Steve. I do remember working with Trisha in the past all day. We both worked the entire day at the food booth in the back of the facility, and where all of the pizza and the salads were available. And we tallied which foods were popular, like the pepperoni, the meat, the cheese pizzas, which sold the best, and so that we would not repeat the mistakes. And we want to ensure that we sell everything that we get. And I do believe that we ran out of everything by 3 o'clock.
Yep.
So it's important to know what we ran out of, what time we ran out. We don't want to run out too early that we have to go back and get more. So, you know, taking a look at what the last event was, I believe in 2018, 2018, 2019. Yes, 2019 was our last Valley Deaf Festival. So I'd like to review that paperwork and those logs so we can see exactly what it is that we did and try and avoid any repetition of error and make good decisions that will support the fundraising effort. But Michelle is right. It's not a huge fundraiser because our focus is more on just getting rid of it. And they are already paying $10 to get into the event. So that on top of the food, many of them don't have the money. So our idea is to sell the food, but not necessarily make a huge profit off the sales, but to make good use of our time and our money and try and run out of food at a good time. To Michelle.
Yes, this is Michelle. Also keep in mind, we know many people are driving from out of town, and when they go to a big event, they will spend money while they're there. So I think we can expect a similar kind of event. The reality is that it's business. They know that the price is going to go up. We want to make sure that we do not overspend. We want to charge a fair price and not lose money. And so we just want to be mindful of when we order it so that, okay, when we run out, we run out. And the pizza, if I remember correctly, lasted almost the whole time. I think the board at the very end discounted it so that I think the whole pizzas that were left also sold for a very, very discounted price just to get rid of it.
That's right.
Were very popular.
We'll have some additional discussion before our next meeting. We'll discuss Valley Deaf Festival. That sounds great. Announcements. Any announcements from anyone? Michelle, did you have announcements?
Yes, this is Michelle. I had just one. I don't remember all the details, but I know that Susan has an art workshop set for February 19th The flyer is on the website, so please do take a look at that. There's a lot more information there. I know many people have enjoyed that event. It will be in person.
All right.
Check it out.
And that's at DHHSC, correct?
Yes, it is. I believe it's maxed out at 25 because folks will be spread out in the community room, in the kitchen, and if the weather is nice, outside as well. So it'll be very, very nice.
Nicole?
And it seems there's a
Nicole?
clarification. It's a limit of 20 people.
Limit of 20 people?
Yep. Thank you, Alex. Yeah.
Alex said a limit of 20. I saw that in the chat. Okay, Nicole. And this is Nicole. If you could clarify for the community members, if they are interested, do they need to contact Susan for a reservation or a spot for that event? Or can they simply show up?
This is Michelle. It's best to be in touch with Susan because we have to track numbers of people and there's a limit to how many can be in the building. It will also help her know how much in the amount of supplies she needs to secure prior to the event.
Thank you.
Yeah, be in touch with her. Yeah.
Jamie? I
Jamie-
know that I can reach out for 2 individuals that will commit to the event. But if the weather is bad and it's outside, then we may have less people. Sometimes we have expected 20 and gotten 7. So it's a little odd. Sometimes not everyone follows through.
Michelle's saying yes. So reserve a spot and also keep your commitment. We do ask. It's not fair to say, oh yeah, I'm going, and then not show up because there are others who are not able to go because there's a limit.
Agreed, says Jamie. And Steve saying, I have one announcement for all of you. You may be aware or not aware, there is an individual by the name of Rita Corey, who is a very well-known musician, actress, toured with NTID, and was part of the Musign signing performance group and was very skilled. She passed away 2 years ago, and we had a committee that got together and developed video interview and a story of her life and the impact that she had on the students that she taught. She taught in the drama department at the Maryland School for the Deaf for 13 years and then retired and contracted with her. There was no one that could do the things she did the way she did them. She was incredibly talented, provided such variety in performance and costuming. And some of you, I'm sure, are familiar with Niall DeMarco. He was a student of Rita Corey's and learned much from her. And she helped to bring him from a shy, quiet boy, if you can imagine that, Niall DeMarco being a shy and quiet young man. And he grew and developed into who he was. Much of that is attributed to Rita Corey. So we are almost completed. We have almost completed that video and that those clips that we want to share. We will provide that to DHHSC, and that might be nice to share with the community one night, that they can all come and watch the story of Rita Corey. Nicole.
Yes, this is Nicole. I'm wondering, Steve, if you know Rita personally, or is this just an effort that folks who knew of her passing wanted to get together?
Rita was a family friend, a sister, if you will. We grew up together. And I knew Rita well. Her talent blossomed when she was 15 years of age. And from there, she just took off. It was incredible. I never saw any of that potential in her until she was 15. But if you watch her video that we are compiling, you will see there was no one like her in her performance, her sign, her musical ability. It is incredible, amazing, and a huge loss. She died at the age of 65, I believe. 64, 65 years old when she passed. She had an older brother whose name was Ed. Ed lived in Hawaii and helped to get all of the media that we've been able to put together. There's about 10 of us that have been a part of this committee in creating the story of Rita Corey. And I'm very excited and want for this community to be able to see the beauty of what she has done and raise the passion for deaf performers. And that is all I have to share.
Bring now DeMarco.
Nicole saying, yes, I want to say, so sorry for your loss, Steve. And maybe we can have a night in honor of her. That might be a really nice way to recognize her.
I would really love to share that with this community. All right, Nicole, again.
Yes, I just want to make sure that Jessica has an opportunity. I know sometimes we don't see it when you want to say
Yeah.
something. So if there is anything you would like to add before we close.
I was gonna say invite now DeMarco. I'm a fan of his.
Steve Longo saying, yes, I did invite him when I was on the DeCara board, serving as president, and he did come to the Bay Area, and it was a huge draw. We had like 2,000 people. It was a very big event. Niall's been pretty quiet lately, so maybe I'll reach out and see if there's any interest in him coming out this way to the Central Valley. We'll see. I'll keep you posted, Jessica. All right, so I think announcements are done, and I think we are ready to, I mean, if we're all in favor of adjourning the meeting, we can move to adjournment. We just need a motion to adjourn.
Nicole, I move that we adjourn the meeting and want to tell all of our interpreters tonight, thank you so much for your work. And I appreciate each and every one of you and each of you as board members and staff members to make this meeting happen. Thank you.
This is Steve Longo. Yes.
Tracy,
To Tracy,
Rosemary,
to Rosemary, to Nikki, and to Pam. Thank you, interpreters, for your work tonight. And I think now the time reads 8:51. We will adjourn the meeting at 8:51. Thank you all for being here. It was a great meeting. We appreciate your time. See you all later.